Good evening and a warm welcome to BCAF, Bridging Culture and Art Foundation. BCAF is a non-profit foundation that is working as a bridge between artist communities and urban population to create a sustainable ecosystem for art and culture. We are very happy to welcome you all in today's session on why intervention is necessary. Today we will discuss how intervention can help an art form and a community to grow and sustain. We are delighted to welcome our speaker, Ms. Srila Mookherjee, a renowned artist, and she will be in conversation with our board chair, Ms. Reena Dewan. It's my absolute honor to introduce Ms. Srila Mookherjee in few words. Srila Mookherjee is trained in ceramics at the National Institute of Design and went to London to learn the art of glass blowing, first under Anthony Stern and then the Glass House. On returning to India, she sets up her studio, sourcing all her material and equipment indigenously. Over 3 decades later, she still enjoys the excitement, challenge and magic of molten glass. Her inspiration is her passion for both functional art as well as for the vessel form. It is a creative combination of form with function, craft with art. For Srila Mookherjee, the vessel is a vehicle to bring to expression her ideas and feelings as an artist. It's also my delight and pleasure to introduce Ms. Reena Dewan. Ms. Reena Dewan is a board chair for BCAF, Bridging Culture and Art Foundation. She is also board member of ICOM Intercom, President West Bengal Arts Council, Wiki, and former President ICOM India. Reena champions and facilitates inclusion, diversity and gender equality in art spaces. She is instrumental in launching the first accessibility program in Eastern India, which forms a bridge between people with special abilities and arts. She works for social inclusion using arts for the development of marginalized and differently abled. She is pioneering social changes, creating an inclusive culture in BCAF that addresses different abilities and choices, gender and sexual diversity and marginalization of communities through appreciation and application of art. We welcome you all in the session.
Hi.
Hi.
We have known each other for so long, but I think this is the first time we are talking like this.
That's right, yes.
Right? आराम से बैठ के and not कि जल्दी में कहीं मिल के. I'm really thankful to you for agreeing to do this for Bridging Culture and Arts Foundation, BCAF, which is a very young organization, and what we are trying to do through this is mainly to build leadership and entrepreneurship among the communities. So we are reaching out for traditional art practices such as we have already addressed Pattachitra. Now we are exploring Shola, and I have known you for so long that you had been working with glass, which is a very traditional art form from Firozabad, and you yourself is from NID. You have learned and experienced design in glass already and ceramics, and you have somewhere brought them both together, the traditional practices from Firozabad and your own practice as a new design maker. So let's start from the very beginning. That, like, how did this start? Like, you set up your own studio, of course, but then how did you think of bringing these two elements together?
So I think that basically the two elements came together because the glass community in India is very small. I began glass, my studio, long before I actually even ventured into Firozabad. So I was at NID where I studied ceramics. They didn't at that point have a glass department. After that I went abroad, I learned glass over there, came back and set up for myself. At that point I started exploring other avenues, other places, and I went to Firozabad because I was trying to do everything completely indigenously. I did not want to import. Also at that time, importing was next to impossible. The economy wasn't open like it is today. So importing things was impossible. So I built my furnace, I built the blowing irons, I made the bench, etc., etc. And then I required raw materials. So for the raw material part of it, I went to Firozabad, and more than the actual glass, I required color.
Okay.
And so that was my first foray into Firozabad, where I met a lot of people, and I tried to actually get glass and colors and things from there to use. Unfortunately for me, it didn't work. And the fact that Firozabad was so far from Calcutta, by then I had decided to set up over here. It was also not the safest of places to go to. It wasn't as easy as it is today to get to. Those were the days when Firozabad was using diesel and coal to fire their furnaces. So there were a lot of problems. So one didn't actually work with anybody in Firozabad then. Several years later, NID finally put together, began a glass department.
Okay.
And
so this is which year we are talking of?
Very good question. They did it in the early 2000s, and I think in 2004, I think it was 2004 or 2005, I made my first trip as a visiting faculty to NID for the glass department. At that point, there was a lady called Nilima Hasija who was running the glass program, and she is the person who actually brought the glass community from Firozabad out to designers and vice versa. So the students from NID would be taken by her to Firozabad, and they would actually go and live over there for a month and see, well, I don't know about a month, but a few weeks, and see how the factories worked, how the communities worked, and there were then a lot of projects and things that they took up. They did craft documentation, and slowly the students and the faculty of glass at NID started working with the communities over there. Because I was going as visiting faculty, and some of the glass makers from Firozabad came at the same time, that's how I got reacquainted with Firozabad and started working with them over there.
Okay. So ये हो गया starting points. Now we can say that once you started interacting, तब क्या हुआ? तो लेके मैं आप शुरू करती हूँ. So this was your starting point, kind of an introduction to this. So from here, then when you started going in there, so how did you think of engaging them?
Well, two things happened. One is that again, because of NID, there was they were working with the bead makers, and it was very exciting because a lot of very interesting work was coming out of it. Now the bead makers work with flame. There are 2-3 ways of making glass beads, and this was being explored by the faculty and the students, and so I decided that I would like to try and have some sort of a workshop in Calcutta and introduce this and open people's minds to what can be done with glass and glass beads and things like that. So Nilima helped me arrange a bead making workshop here in my studio, where we had 8 or 10 people coming and actually working with the glass makers, seeing how that it wasn't so easy. I mean, to make a perfect bead over a flame, or to get it out of the furnace and to make it beads and bangles and things like that. So I was working with, been in touch with them to do that. And then again, it's because the community is a very small community. Whenever I required any help in making larger pieces in my own work for blowing, I would reach out to one of the glass blowers in Firozabad who would come to Calcutta to my studio and work with me over here.
Okay. So because you were calling obviously not all of them, and there were few, did you feel that ever it happened that some of them felt that they are getting the exposure, the other are not?
Oh, that happens all the time. But there are two aspects over here. One is that the person who I work with, he is very open-minded, which is why he also works at NID. He goes, and we meet every year when I go to teach. He is also over there. So basically, what I do is that I bridge the gap. I am a maker and a designer. Pappu, who is the person I work with in Firozabad, who comes to NID, he is a maker, but in industry. So for me it's art, for him it's industry, and then you have the students of design. So what are the students of design doing? They get 2 weeks in which to explore the medium of glass.
Right.
So someone like Pappu has to be open to the fact that he has to work in a different way.
Right.
That these are young designers who are going to tell him, I want this. This is my idea, this is what I would like to do, and they're exploring. So they are trying to figure out whether the glass can actually be pulled, pushed, blown, broken, whatever, to make what they want, what they have envisaged, what they have ideated, what they have designed. Because I am an alumni of NID and I'm a maker, I'm able to bridge the gap between Pappu, who's an industrial maker, works in industry, saying, you can do this.
Okay.
You know, this is how I do it, this is how we do it. Because in industry, what they do is that it is numbers, it's quantity, not quality.
Right.
And so they do fatafat, fatafat, fatafat. So anything that requires a little bit of time and patience and things, and you're only making one piece, requires a different mindset.
Totally.
So that mindset has to be there. So the people who come to work have to have that mindset.
Right.
Now, from what I understand, someone like this gentleman Pappu, he didn't come from a tradition of glass blowing. He got into glass blowing because he used to skip school and go to the glass factories with a friend.
Okay.
So he wasn't carrying the baggage that others carried about it being a tradition. It has to be done this way, no other way. Because that's how my father did it, that's how my grandfather did it, that's how my great-grandfather did it.
Right.
So as a result, he was more open, he is more open to suggestions, to experimenting, to trying.
Right.
So that is the one big aspect that one has to sort of look out for.
And choose accordingly.
Same thing happened to me. I was doing a project with using the dhokra method of making wax casting, but casting it in glass, not in metal.
Okay.
The person that I got from where Bankura, that side, again he came into dhokra work not as a father to son, but because circumstances pushed him into it. Because of that, he was open to try experimenting with me as to what I was doing.
Right.
The others immediately said, "Nahi hoega, hobe na." But because there isn't that background, they're open.
Right. So that means that one thing that one must look for is that kind of a openness to experimentation, learning new things, because most of the time when we interact with communities, we see that they are not really open to learning also, because they had been doing, and obviously one feels that I already know. So why should I learn at this age now from somebody who's maybe not from this same field?
That's right.
So that happens.
Yeah.
So tell me one thing, that for example, Pappu had been now working with you for how many years, let's say?
Since 2004, 2003, somewhere about then.
So it's lot many years now. So do you think that he's the only one still, or he has gone back and maybe kind of opened mind of other people, or some more people like you have started working with them?
I think that yes, not just Pappu, the fact that every year NID is now producing 8 to 10 graduates who are working in glass, which never used to happen before. A lot of them are actually going to Firozabad and working with the community over there. We all tend to end up with the same 3 or 4 people because they know how we work, they know how we think, they think this in a similar way. But yes, it is opening up. There are more and more people interested, both from this side as well as that side. And I think if there were opportunities, it would certainly help.
But there are still a lot who are working in the industry fashion.
Oh yeah, 99% of them still work that way.
And there is a demand for that.
There's a huge demand because a lot of the stuff that gets exported.
Okay.
And then Firozabad itself is the glass hub of India. So as I was mentioning earlier, from headlights to chandelier parts to drinking glasses, beads, bangles, even maybe medical equipment and stuff, everything is actually made over there.
Wow. And when you took that traditional style of making and actually amalgamated your own design sense, so what kind of products came out?
With me, it was products that I was making, but I wanted to make bigger.
Okay.
But with the students and things, their design intervention and design studies and things like that led to a lot of very exciting products. I'll give you an example. There is a flame worker. That's basically the scientific glass thing. That's one way of flame working. So the flame workers used to do those traditional birds and those sort of things. When they go to the institute and there's a 2-week course for the students, it's designed in such a way that something like an onion is used as a base, and that ends up being all sorts of very exciting other things that has come out of that particular onion form.
Okay.
So apart from the fact that it helps the students, the artisans are also, their minds are also developing. They go back then and they think about it, not all of them, but several of them think about it, and they try in their own way to do something different.
Right. Okay. So that intervention has actually led to something which now they're themselves also experimenting with.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And they take it, I mean, one of the things that the bead makers, one of the students made little beetles using metal to form the legs and things, I mean, soldering it on. That suddenly became a big thing, from beads. I mean, beads are worn as malas, that thing. But that a bead can become a little insect. Became a big thing. It became something that they took to, I think, one of the fairs in Delhi, and they sold out. And when something like that happens, it makes them also think. The problem is that they get one thing and they try and keep replicating that, and they don't realize that the market dries up. So they have to have constant innovation and thing that they don't have. They are all makers. They get into the thing of making one thing. Their skills are incredible. But they not some of them do, but not all of them have the ability to think beyond what they have been asked to.
And I think this is also coming from their age-old practice, that they go back to that. Okay, now this is a new design, so let's make that. And then, of course, though we are a big country, but then still the market dries out. That's so true.
So again, it happened that one of the students had done I think they designed the diploma project on jewelry with crochet, and beautiful beads, beautiful crochet work. Everything was really lovely. And this artisan brought it to Calcutta for one of these not art craft fairs or something, and again it was a sellout. He got lots of orders, a complete sellout. But then the next time when he came with a lot of expectation, but with the same product.
Okay.
People who had bought it, they all came, but they were looking for something new. They were looking for something different, something that everybody else was not wearing.
Right.
But they weren't able to sort of
go further from there. Yeah. So in a way, you're saying that these design interventions are sort of needed on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Right, and until they themselves starts going into the colleges and start getting education, but there the design sense develops. Till the time this kind of a getting trapped in a capsule is there, that okay, they will go back again to making again and again the same thing. Then market dries out, the price value they don't get as good as they should have got. And then that feeling that okay, this is not really working must be there.
That's right. And they also have to get out of the trap of quantity, not quality. You know, then, and I mean, unfortunately, that's how the market works for them. Because the more they make, the more money they're going to get. It doesn't matter that the piece isn't, you know, of any quality.
Maybe if they first get an order, probably they will then make it quality based.
Yes, but then they'll get 5 orders. And the quality then goes. So it's also the people who are getting there are 2 things. One is that, say, you know, someone like a company like IKEA or something, they sell things so inexpensively. Where do they get it from? So they're also looking for something that is inexpensive.
Right.
And in order to get that inexpensive item, you have to produce it in bulk, in great quantity.
Sure. That's
it's a vicious
circle. Right. Tell me that what we always talk is that, you know, people steal from community. It's their right, and unfortunately there is no IP rights with the community practices, that whether it's performances or visual art. And we have seen in history that Bollywood has also stolen a lot from the communities without giving them the due credit or the money. So do you think that the reverse ever happened? Because, you know, these artisans are coming and working with you and seeing your design also as an artist that you're making. So do you ever think that or do you ever fear that they will take away that?
No, I don't feel that, only because the artisans who come, at least in the glass world, the artisans who come are working for other people. They are not working for themselves.
Okay.
So it doesn't really work that way. Also, again, we go back to what we were talking about earlier. I make one-off pieces. I make one piece. In a day, I might make 5, maybe 10, depending on the size of the piece. They're making 500, right? So in order to steal, or in order to steal, that's how they would have to work, and they don't have the luxury to work that way.
You would have been actually happier if they can.
Yeah, exactly. I would be very happy if they did.
Right.
Yeah, I would be very happy if they did.
True.
You know, and I just feel, and they come here, and you know, they see the equipment, they see the colors, they see the other things that one's using, and they get excited. They would like to work like that, but they don't have the, as I mentioned earlier, the luxury to do it.
Yeah, because there's a target, because sell karna hai.
Right. And the way Firozabad, say, amongst the glass blowing, they work in bhattis, meaning that they work in teams. So each member of a team does one thing in order to get the finished product. So that also is, you know, it's a different way of working.
Okay, so like there are people handling different, like it's
almost like an assembly line.
Assembly
almost,
line. Right.
But for that one thing. So one person will gather, another person will put the first bubble in, then the third person will gather a second bit, the fourth person will shape it, the fifth person will give, and then it goes to the master glass maker who does the final product. And
So it's not that one person is making everything like an artist would do.
From start to finish.
Okay. So that's a whole different kind of working system is there.
Yes.
Because of which also it's difficult for them to, because I had been interacting with especially with expats, and their feeling is that when they try to buy Indian craft, the quality becomes an issue. They are ready to pay prices in thousands and thousands, which Indian market otherwise is not ready to pay. We usually see things being sold at 500, 300, maximum 1000. But they're ready to pay thousands. At the same time, they say that there is no place that they can really go and look for the quality craft. So that is again a catch-22 situation. Because on one end we do want to promote our own handicrafts and tradition, but at the same time the money crunch is so high in case of artisans that they don't have the luxury, as you use the word rightly, to say that okay, we will only create these good quality products and wait for them to sell. That kind of luxury is not there with them, and because of which this situation comes that they continue to produce in numbers without bothering about the quality. So do you see any way around this catch-22?
To some extent, yes, but then it also becomes that the artisans lose their independence and they start working for young designers. Or somebody who comes out of NIFT or Srishti or NID or any of these places, they decide to maybe set up a craft village or something like that, where you will get well designed quality items that will cost you money. Number one, it's niche. And number two, they will lose their independence because they will be working specifically and only for someone. What happens, I think what tends to happen also is that they start that way, they get excited about, oh, I can make this and sell it for so much. They go back and they start doing that, but they don't realize that it's the quality and it isn't the
numbers again.
And then they don't have the marketing to sell it at those prices.
Right. So the dependence continues. First from the design and intervention side, then getting that kind of a money that they continue to make those high quality, wait for that because it's not going to sell today. And then third is the marketing thing.
So I think that, to a large extent, the crafts councils of the various states have tried to help and tried to do this. And to a large extent, I think that they have, but there's still a huge way to go.
The gap is too large.
The gap is too large.
And we have the amount of art forms is really, it's heartening to see that some are really dying and you're just helplessly seeing. And when you try to do the intervention also, there are concerns.
And craft in India, I don't know if you've seen that, you must have seen the book Handmade in Aditi Ranjan. And the number of crafts we've got, every state, where do you start?
True. Even the mapping is not there actually.
Not everywhere.
How many art forms, how many people are following those?
That sort of, those demographics are not there. But what is done where, that book is really a Bible for anyone who wants to find craft but it just touches the the
tip
surface,
of the iceberg. Because once you start going into the communities, you start realizing what problems we think are not the ones that needs to be addressed first. First, what is need to be addressed is their daily livelihood. Because one is that daily livelihood is not there, they won't care about the design. They only know मेरा ये आज बिक जाएगा, मुझे अगर 500 रुपये मिल जाएगा, I'm able to feed my family.
That's right.
And beyond that they don't bother. And secondly, what they feel is कि we are basically struggling, so why let our child get into it? Let them do something different so that
they make some money. So that happens. That's happened a lot with the potters community. So that's I sort of straddle that as well, because that was my base was ceramics and pottery. So the potter community, that's what's happened. And what's happened also is that lifestyles have changed. Right, and whereas the potter used to be so much a part of daily life in India, especially in rural India.
Right.
I mean, the potter was there, or pots were required for birth, for death, for marriage, for any ceremony. You required terracotta pots and you required the potter. That's gone.
Yeah.
All that's gone. And now people would far prefer using metal, using plastic, repurposing stuff. So where does the potter go? So the potters, I mean, the next generation say there's nothing for us.
True. Right. Yeah, because thankfully Kolkata still has those lovely small cups.
Yeah.
Bahar.
Yeah.
But in rest of the India, very rarely you see these kind of things being
right.
used. And obviously only those elements are not going to suffice them for their livelihood. Yeah, it's just okay, one person in the family, two people in the family, but these kind of things need entire family to make them, because handling the clay first, making it ready for the potter to start creating the pots itself is a laborious task. And how do you see, because we see that when it comes to potters, is the women is doing the preparation of the clay. When it comes to Pattachitra artists, the woman is doing the coloring, while the man is doing the drawing most of the cases. Third, Shola, we see that the cutting, the slicing of the Shola is being done by the men.
All the skilled work is being done by the men, and all the
laborious work without any credit is going to the women. So how do you see those things are changing, or do you think they're opening minds enough to say that okay, let the woman also learn the skill part?
I think that's slowly happening, it's slowly happening. During the Amphan super cyclone, just after that, we went to the pottery villages just in North 24 Parganas, which got very badly hit. And there were a lot of women whom we met who, either they'd been widowed or they chose to actually be part of the pottery community over there. They were doing everything. They were doing a lot of their own work. So it is, I think it is slowly changing.
And is there any intervention that you feel that one should do over there, so that more women come? Because when we suddenly try to pick one woman that we see this really good, we see that community comes together and do not want that one female to be taken out and be taught more than others can do. And not everybody is interested, because they also get very little time after their daily work and feeding of the family and taking care of the entire cleaning and getting water and whatnot. So how one negotiates with that, because choosing out people becomes sometimes difficult.
It becomes very difficult, and the woman herself has to be ready and wanting to do it. They are. I mean, it's happening. Again, unfortunately, it's quantity, not quality. They get paid very little. In our village in just short of Plassey, the women, we had started a program where we had taught all the women tailoring, with sewing machines and things. We had a little community hall where we got all these sewing machines, and then we helped them if they wanted to, once they completed the course, help them to get their own machines. Today they're not willing to make what they had learned, blouses and petticoats and things, because somebody in Calcutta has discovered that they're there. They are getting these really cheap work to do, with your gota and all that, to put on to sew onto things, and they're getting 50 paisa a piece. But they make 500 of them. They've made their money. They are not interested in taking forward their learning, because they have discovered that they can make money this way.
And it's easy for them, because order aa raha hai, paise aa rahe, leke ja raha hai.
And they don't have to leave home. They can do it whenever they've got time, and so they're doing it. Yet there are so many of them who were so good, and they could have actually started tailoring in a different, but they're not.
So one part is there, at least some empowerment did happen. Yes, they are getting their livelihood taken care,
and they're no longer dependent on the men for the money.
That's taken care, but they could have done better, which they got again stuck into this dependence on the order and easy access.
And they don't want to leave home. That's the other thing. They're very happy sitting at home.
Right. Because again, it's something that they have to sort of fight
Yeah.
with the community
Yeah.
that if they now want to go out, and people will say, no, but you're getting work within your house, why you
Why
want
do you
to
want
go
to go?
out?
And then there's also that community, that same community thing. They're all sitting together. You know, 4 or 5 of them are sitting together, but they're gossiping and they're doing this and they're making the money.
So the lot of dependence also becomes because they're getting easy thing that somebody is coming, giving them the order and the money and taking back the stuff.
Yeah.
So they really don't have to bother much about, okay, shirt is good quality or not, because this is simple stitching.
Yeah.
There is not really actually any quality
that's
that
right.
matters.
Yeah.
You just have to run the machine on it and that's done. So again, putting their brain into creating the right size of the shirts and then probably waiting for or they might just get order even for shirts. I'm sure there's so much of demand of petticoats and things like that. But then again, it needs a lot of focus, and since they have to do 100 things in their home and then sit for it maybe 1 or 2 hours in a day,
they're not interested.
They're not interested. So these things also become a problem, that you know, progress, that okay, they are always attached to their home. Hence, within the home, if they can do something, that's the best thing for them.
So with same thing with clay. The timing is also important. The clay has to be the right dryness for you to do the next part of it. Then you have, you know, so there's, as you say, where's the time? If you're going to be, unless the women stop doing housework and all that, whatever they do has to be done in the time that they have over and above the
regular
daily
work,
life.
which is always more important. Right. So we are almost at the end of our conversation, though there is always so much to talk. And actually we wish to even write a blog from this conversation, and we might request you, if you want to add anything more through a blog, that would be wonderful going forward. But for this one, I would like to now focus on the next generation, because when we visit the communities, we see that, of course, thankfully, because of this midday meal policy of the government, they are sending children to school, and children are getting 1 square meal, good enough, at least decent enough for the day, for the nutrition part. But what do you see the next generation doing for in this case?
In glass, I don't see the next generation wanting to get into it. It's hot work, it's hard work. I honestly don't know what the financials are, how much they will actually make. And I think only those who don't have any other opportunities are going to be going into it.
Not by choice, you're saying. It's mostly by compulsion. Kuch nahi hai to kar rahe hain. That's very sad, because
it is,
really lose this kind of skill set which is there, the knowledge
and
which
the
is there.
skill is just amazing.
And despite they're producing like an industry, still you're saying that their income is less, because again you're selling cheap.
No, it's maybe the income is, I don't know what honestly I haven't gone into it. I don't know what the income is, or what they're how much they're earning. But if you see the conditions that they're working under, you know, it's very, very difficult. It's very hot. I mean, the furnaces are 1200 degrees Celsius, and that too in a place like Firozabad, where in any case it's, you know, in summer it's 45, 47 degrees. So they're working 8 hours in that, or 6 hours in that heat. I mean, there's no air conditioning. I don't even, you know, there's possibly no fans, because you can't have a fan blowing straight at you with the furnace. So they're inhuman conditions, and unless there is that compulsion for the money, or it's something that you truly enjoy doing, I don't see the next generation actually going into it. I think what happens a lot is that the next generation leaves to go and do something that doesn't work, and then they come back. Because at least it's a livelihood that they know will continue.
And there are fixed sources where they can sell, or from where they can buy material. So that comfort is there. Otherwise, no, but not by choice. Obviously, because if somebody is seeing that the others who are working in elsewhere are leading a life which is much more comfortable, and here they are not only struggling for the money, but the condition of working itself is so challenging.
That's right.
So why would somebody want to really burn their body for something which is not even fetching them decent money? So that's true. So when it comes to the working condition in India, we have seen that they're always bad because we somewhere feel that जितना कष्ट करेंगे उतना अच्छा काम होगा, but it doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, we need to now at least think about changing those factors also, that how we make their life comfortable. So the intervention has to be at multiple levels. That means
absolutely
design level, marketing level, living
conditions, working conditions.
Working conditions, yes, of course.
Living conditions are more theirs, but working conditions is something that we need to.
And in your own work, so you also work with this kind of temperature?
Yeah.
Oh God.
My phone. Yeah, but then I work in a quiet environment. You know, you've got to try and imagine what it is. There's this huge big shed, and I have a furnace with one opening.
Okay.
Here the furnace is in the middle and there are multiple openings, so the heat is coming out from about 10 or 12, and there is each sort of team of people working is about 8 or 10. So multiply that by the 80 people or 90 people or more working in that one shed.
Oh my God.
Where the furnace is spewing out temperatures of 1200 degrees Celsius. Then because I remelt glass, they melt glass, I mean they melt from sand and silica and all that.
Okay.
There's all those health hazards as well. It's working conditions are not good.
So obviously, if they will have a choice, they will not continue.
The only thing that's changed is that instead of using diesel and coal and all that, they're now using gas.
Okay.
And that happened because of the proximity of Firozabad to the Taj Mahal.
That compulsory thing happened because Taj Mahal was getting suffered, not the people.
That's right.
So we didn't care about the people, we cared about the architecture only. Right. So, but in that process, at least they got the gas.
And it's so much cleaner. I mean, the air is cleaner.
Because there's a lot of gases, pollution that they are breathing, and without any mask, I'm sure it's not possible to work in any kind of mask in this heat. It is not possible.
And they've really suffered over the COVID period. They've really suffered because
there was nothing. And is there any way that women are involved with this?
No,
very hard.
No. The women are the women are involved only with the that I know of, the bangle making.
Okay.
After the bangles are the spring is made and cut, the women sit at night over kerosene thing and join the bangles. So you'll find that the bangle will always have that black dot.
Right.
That's done by the women.
Okay. Thank you so much for this conversation. It was really important to talk to you, because you are hands-on working with them. You have seen the challenges also, and you've seen what works also firsthand. So this was important for us to get to talk to you, and I'm really thankful from Bridging Culture and Arts Foundation that you took out time and for this lovely space that you have. Thank you.
Thank you.